Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beardzone Sports Talk. My name is David, and I got a Scooter with me tonight. We hope you guys had a fantastic holiday last couple of weeks. So we had Christmas, we had New Year's. We hope your New Year is going absolutely fantastic, and we are ready to talk NFL because we are yet 1 week away, and there are a few teams out there like the Cincinnati Bengals might make the playoffs, which is absolutely insane. But we're going to get into all of that. But before we dive into all of that, do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because that's the best way to support us as we continue to grow this NFL season. Scooter, playoffs. A lot of teams have already clinched this. NFC is pretty much tied up. If Bucks win, there's only one more spot, and that's the NFC South. If the Bucks win, they're in. If the Bucks lose and Atlanta loses, the Bucks are in. But if the Bucks win, or if the Bucks lose and Atlanta wins, Atlanta's in. Okay, you got that? Did you follow that? Great. I'm glad we got that covered. But the AFC is what is really kind of crazy right now. So I'm gonna walk you through these a little bit, hopefully more clear than I did for the NFC just now. But I want to first I want to talk about the teams that have already clinched the playoffs. We have the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously. They're the number one seed. Yay, Kansas City. We have the Buffalo Bills. We have the Buffalo Bills. Shout out Buffalo. We have the Houston Texans because the AFC South sucks regardless. We have the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, it's let's be real. We have the Baltimore Ravens, who are actually in still contention with the Pittsburgh Steelers for the divisional, which is going to affect the seeding. But both the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers are in. And then we have the Los Angeles Chargers that are in. So shout out Jim Harbaugh, first year turning around that organization. Let's go, Justin Herbert.
Year one, too.
Year one. So, but let's go into the teams that are right now from the outside looking in. Let's start off with the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are facing their Dallas Cowboys, right? No. Who are the Cincinnati Bengals facing? Anyway, Cincinnati.
Pittsburgh, dude.
Pittsburgh, that's right.
What?
Jeez.
It's all
The thing that I'm looking at right now is showing the Dallas Cowboys, like Joe Burrow versus the Dallas Cowboys. So I just immediately said that. It was an error on my end.
Recording.
So we have the Cincinnati Bengals. They're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers this week. If they win and Denver loses against the Kansas City Chiefs, who I don't know if that's going to happen because I think the Chiefs are probably resting most of their starters. But if Denver loses to the Chiefs, and then if Miami loses or ties with the New York Jets, Cincinnati wins, they're in. So let's just hang out right here for a second. Because Joe Burrow is having himself a true MVP season. So my question to you is that say if this scenario plays out exactly how I said it, Cincinnati beats Pittsburgh, Denver loses to Kansas City, Miami loses to the New York Jets, or ties, and the Cincinnati Bengals make the playoffs. At this point now, because they are a playoff team, is Joe Burrow now a true contender for the MVP title? Because his team made the playoffs. And his stats are MVP worthy.
I think he's like the pure passer, right? And he's not as mobile as Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. If you look at their total season, right, and their impact to their team, Lamar has a complete team, and he's playing spectacular ball. I'm not taking anything away from that. Josh Allen is doing it with almost like Bill Belichick, Tom Brady level wide receivers, and then you just drop Amari Cooper in there. It's like when they had, when they just randomly got like Josh Gordon or Randy Moss. I'm not saying that Amari Cooper is that level. I'm just saying he kind of adds that level of impact. And then you have Joe Burrow, who, besides Trey Hendrickson on his defense, Joe Burrow is carrying that entire team. Like,
Yes.
Zach Taylor without Joe Burrow is getting totally fired.
Yes.
Joe Burrow willing his like 6th loss in a row team in the beginning of the season to the playoffs is the only historical threat to Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you take the MVP if he makes them to the if he takes them to the playoffs. If the Bengals make it in this crazy scenario that the Jets beat the Finns and Kansas City beats the Broncos, and Cincinnati does have an ability to win against Pittsburgh. I don't know. I think the committee for the MVP race is very Lamar and Allen heavy because of
Yeah.
their impact and their dual threat and everything else. It's going to be harder currently and down the road for a pure passer to win. Granted, he's thrown for 40 something touchdowns. He hasn't ran, he hasn't done tush push, he hasn't done any of that crap. So from a quarterback standpoint and impact, I think man, I don't like saying this, but a 3-way tie, is that feasible
I
for
don't think so.
MVP? Like,
I don't think so.
but
I say you give it to him.
let's be real though.
I
Lamar
truly
won it
you
last
give it to
year.
him.
Lamar won it last year, and it was a robbery because Dak Prescott technically was better in stats, but it goes to impact player, right? You have 3 incredibly good quarterbacks playing MVP seasons. So I think it's very difficult. I would like to see Joe Burrow win an MVP. I just don't think it's this year. I think there's still Lamar and Josh Allen heavy.
So, and I agree with you as far as what the committee is most likely going to vote for. But I am going to say that if the Cincinnati Bengals, led by Joe Burrow, solely by Joe Burrow, make it to the playoffs, he deserves MVP because it would be the same thing as how you were so heated with the Heisman and the impact that Ashton Genty had with Boise State. If you take Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson out of the Buffalo Bills or out of the Ravens, do they have the same success? Probably not. But think about but they have decent defense, right? They have other key like Derrick Henry has had a very good year. They have a running game. With the Buffalo Bills, their defense is pretty solid. Their coaching very solid. Like you said, without Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor gone. This team has no defense whatsoever. This is a team that has literally put up 38, 40 points a game, and they still end up losing. I mean, what is Joe Burrow supposed to do? So I say just for the sheer fact that some way, somehow, he gets it and he makes this to the playoffs, he should get MVP because, like you said, historically, he's also our only hope from stopping this three-peat from happening with the Kansas City Chiefs this year. So that's going to be crazy. Now, we're going to get into our picks a little bit later, so I don't want to necessarily say, hey, who do you think that this is going to play out? But that's definitely a lot of pieces that need to be thrown into there. So let's go to the next team here on the list, which is the Denver Broncos. Now, the Denver Broncos are in the best position right now in the AFC to get that last playoff spot, which is crazy to think because I don't think any of us had the Denver Broncos where they're at right now. But their defense is phenomenal, and Bo Nix with Sean Payton is a match made in heaven. And you got to love it. And Bo Nix, honestly, has been having a fantastic year. Definitely have had rookie moments with turning the ball over. But for the most part, you got to be happy if you're a Denver Broncos fan and battling against in the AFC West to still get a spot when you're battling against the Chiefs, the Chargers, I mean, the Raiders, who cares? But when you're battling with the other two teams who have playoff spots, that's saying a lot. It's easy. Denver wins, they're in. If they win, doesn't matter about what happens, they are in, they get the last spot. But if they lose and Miami loses and Cincinnati lose, then they're still in. So definitely the most easiest. They control their own destiny. If they win, they're in. I like Bo Nix. Like I said, we'll get into the picks later. But who would have thought? The Denver Broncos, man, led by Bo Nix, after what was a disaster of what we thought was going to be a great relationship with Russell Wilson and Denver. They go out and get him from Seattle a few years ago. Denver gets these, veteran quarterbacks in. They're seeing another Peyton Manning kind of thing happening. We're going to win another Super Bowl with Russell, yada, yada. That didn't happen at all. Sean Payton comes in. They clash heads. There was never really good locker room mesh there. And then you also look at what they also did over the offseason. They got rid of a toxic player with Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy was causing a lot of issues there in the locker room, especially with Russell Wilson. And they're now led by this rookie, Bo Nix. They have a fantastic defense. Go Broncos, man. Broncos country. Let's ride. Bo Nix is the driver now, finally.
I mean, you called it, man. You called it last year with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson not having a good quarterback head coach marriage, and now we're seeing that transpire now with Bo Nix and Sean Payton. You said Jerry Jeudy was toxic. I agree with that. That translating to the Browns is absolutely comical, and you couldn't write that any better. So no. I agree. Broncos do have the easy route to the playoffs. That defense is spectacular. I'm surprised you didn't mention that. I think they have the best points against average. They have a very good turnover ratio. I don't know their longevity, though, right? I think the Broncos, there's still a lot of youth. You have an experienced head coach in Sean Payton. I don't like him, being from the Saints. But I think if you took the two of them, right? You took Cincinnati and then you took Broncos. I would prefer Cincinnati, but Broncos, even like you said, even if all three of them lose, they're in. That's like a give me scenario.
Yeah.
And I don't like seeing the give me scenarios, but at the same token, like they haven't not earned it. Their defense is great. I think they're gonna have a harder road to win because obviously your caliber of team gets way harder in the playoffs, and I think it'd be a very good testament to the rookies. Seeing as how the Commanders with Jaden Daniels and now you got Bo Nix, and they just went head to head with their whole Heisman last year, and now they could potentially make a wave in the playoffs. I think it's a really good scriptwriter thing. If you want that, your whole conspiracy theory on NFL script writing, but I think the script writing is better in Joe Burrow's favor. But I like the Broncos against KC. I don't know if they're sitting people or not, so I guess we'll see how that plays out.
Let's also not forget that the Denver Broncos, if it wasn't for a blocked field goal, they beat Kansas City earlier in the year. So this team can win, and this team can beat a team like Kansas City. Although I don't think that that's saying too much this year. Kansas City has shown that they are. I know that they're 15-1, and I am 100% a hater. I don't care. So suck it. I'm going to continue to suck. I'm going to continue to say I'm not going to continue to suck it. That's not what I'm going to do. But I'm going to continue to say, that Kansas City, they're showing very big vulnerability this year. So I'm just going to leave it at that, man. Kansas City has shown their weaknesses. I mean, think about all the games that have come down to plays just like this, plays with a blocked field goal. Or you have some missed calls, or you have a toe that is like this far out of bounds with the Ravens. So there's Kansas City, although they're 15-1,
They
I
have a
just
target. You could say
they
it. The
have a
Kansas
huge
City Chiefs
target.
have a target on their back, whether you're
They
in
have a
their
huge target.
division or if you're the Bills, the Ravens, the Steelers, like anybody in the AFC right now is like, I don't care who we're playing. I want to play Patrick Mahomes. I want to bury that dynasty, man.
Yeah,
Like, I think Julian Edelman had said it in his podcast. Like, if you're Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, um, Bo Nix, whoever, it is your job to stop the Kansas City Chiefs from this three-peat. NFC, again, if they get there, that's your job. Just stop them. Like, they've turned
yeah,
into the Patriots.
they 100% have. So hopefully someone can beat them this year. But let's move on to the final team that is looking for a playoff spot, and that's the Miami Dolphins. Another kind of surprise team here, right? I mean, the team that we didn't think we would be talking about a potential playoff spot. But Miami doesn't have a harder road as Cincinnati. Cincinnati definitely has the hardest road. Denver Broncos have the easiest. They control their own destiny. But Miami is in if they beat the New York Jets, which is very easily done. That can be done.
Yeah.
And Denver loses to the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, that might be a little bit more of a question because who are the Kansas City Chiefs playing? I don't think that they're going to be playing their starters, which makes a lot of sense. And I don't really think that. I mean, they already have the number one seed, so it's not even like they're
Yeah.
fighting for home field advantage. So it's like rest your starters, let's go. So the Denver Broncos are most likely going to win and just kill the hopes and dreams of both Cincinnati and the Miami Dolphin fans. But in this scenario where Miami Dolphins could potentially win or could potentially get in because the New York Jets are the laughing stock of the NFL right now, and the Patriots fans are thanking them of that. Um, I mean, Miami playoffs. I don't even like this team. I think that this is the most. This is probably the team that is the most undeserving of a playoff spot, even next to Cincinnati. Look at this team, man. Tyreek Hill isn't doing what we're used to seeing. Mike McDaniels is starting to become unlikable, and he was very likable there for a little bit. Tua is honestly, I'm not really a big fan of Tua anymore. The way that he's been, carrying and handling himself, he just seems very arrogant. Um, I don't like this team, and I think that they are the least deserving. So I really hope that this isn't the scenario. But how do you feel if Miami gets in?
I don't know if they get in because of the scenario. I think they'll beat the Jets, but let's be real, the Jets are probably in the top 10 for talent and just also the top 5 for the biggest joke this year. Just because of output. But like you said, the Finns, man, I think they're kind of imploding, and I think it's a cultural or character issue, right? You got Tua, like you said, he's kind of feeling a little arrogant. When you're on your fifth or sixth concussion, you might not want to do that. Tyreek Hill, I think he went for the money, and he's regretting that decision now. So who knows, in the
Yeah,
offseason, we might see that shift again back to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to be like, oh, well, at least I have a real quarterback throwing me the ball now. Tua's not a bad quarterback. I think,
no, he's not.
no, I think
He's
Mike
very
McDaniel,
accurate.
when he's not bouncing his head around his brain, his brain in his head. But
Yeah,
I think with the Finns, I think what you saw was the maturity and every other team catching on to their scheme, right? And Mike McDaniel hasn't adjusted the scheme, or he tried to and won like 2 or 3 games, but now they're catching back on. And I
yeah,
think their defense is just not. It sucks because their defense isn't terrible either, but they get caught when they shouldn't get caught. I think that's the problem with the Dolphins, man. At the end of the day, it's almost like you're watching a better defensive version of Cincinnati, but they're not performing offensively like Cincinnati. It's really strange. Like, you have a track star team and you scored 70 points last year, but you've barely crested over like 21 points a game. I don't know if honestly Dolphins somehow make this scenario into the playoffs, they lose first round. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I don't like the Miami Dolphins. Carlos isn't here to defend them, so
I don't mind them, but like right now,
I
they're
don't like
not
them.
they're not a good team.
I don't like
They're
them.
not a playoff team.
I really would not like. I would really not like to see the Miami Dolphins in there, simply because whoever goes up against them definitely has a very easy matchup to just move on to the divisional round. So don't like it. But hey, if you're a Miami Dolphin fan, shout out to you. You still have hope. Maybe you guys can do it. Maybe you can turn it around in the playoffs. But like Scooter said, I think that Mike McDaniel is the Todd Bowles of offense, where he just doesn't adjust his schemes or his play, So they're going to catch on to that, and you can only dump it off to Tyreek Hill and try and make the guy, score an 80-yard touchdown from behind the line of scrimmage every play. So should be interesting to see. The AFC playoffs scenario is definitely a lot of moving pieces. So we hope that you guys were able to follow that. If not, just Google it, because that's what I did. So there you go. We have a beautiful tool that is available to us. Scooter, I want to move on to a game that has got to be the greatest matchup in NFL history for the final week. Because if you were to tell me that any team in the NFL won 14 games and they lost their division, I would call you crazy.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
But that is exactly the scenario that we are getting with the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. Both teams are going into week 18 at 14-2. They're both fighting for the number 1 seed in the NFC. They're both fighting for, hey, the road to New Orleans goes through us. The NFL scriptwriters, masterclass of a job. Hats off to you. This is insane. This should be a very fun matchup. I don't want to get too much into the picks, but 14 games and you won 14 games, and one of these teams are going to lose their division and get bumped to a wild card. That's crazy.
Yeah, the loser of this game ends up destroying basically whoever they play, man. I really hope it's not the Bucs. But
it would be the Bucs, because the Bucs would be the 4th seed, because we're the last team of the NFC divisions.
In that case, can they both lose? Is that a thing? I don't know. Can they tie? Can we tie?
Tampa, it's either going to be Tampa or the Falcons that are going to have to face this team next week in the wild card. That's wild.
It's crazy. So like when we, again, script writing, fantastic. Can't compliment that enough, right? And again, conspiracy theories, right? But you look at the Lions and our predictions, and we're like, they're the team to be in the NFC North. That's very clear. And then we transpire to our next one was Vikings, who we had no clue was going to win more than 10 games.
No.
And they're rebuilding with Sam Darnold. I have no idea. Kevin O'Connell should get Coach of the Year, hands down. I know Andy Reid is crushing it with the Kansas City and the refs. I got you. But Kevin O'Connell is absolutely killing it with the Vikings and somehow rebuilding with a quarterback that's been thrown around from the Jets to the 49ers to Carolina. And if you're the Panthers right now watching Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold flourishing, you need a new ownership. I don't know, man. I like both. Like, we could realistically see either team for the NFC in the Super Bowl. Like how they're playing, it's like lockdown secondary. It's pressure on the front four. It's and the quarterbacks are not turning the ball over. I know Sam Darnold had like a weird 2-week thing where he was kind of throwing some interceptions, and Jared Goff kind of had a wonky one with the Bucs. But at the same time, they have a good, solid, decent run game. They have a decent set of wide receivers catching. You got Justin Jefferson and Ross St. Brown going at it again with solid throwers, man. And to the same point, Jared Goff was a good ball spinner by the analysts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when Sam Darnold came out of USC into the NFL, some of these guys were saying he is the best ball spinner they've ever seen, which means he is one of the best crisp spiral on the dot throwers. He may not gun it 80 billion yards down the field like Josh Allen, but he's going to drop it exactly where it needs to be when it needs to be there. And all the other coaches, this just goes to show coaching with Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell, and coaching in the NFL and the maturity of that quarterback absolutely need to be married in how the success of the team translates, right? It can be the GM, it can be the owner, you can draft well, but if the head coach or the quarterback coach and the head coach are not married well with how the scheme fits with their quarterback, you're doomed. Absolutely doomed. We saw a genius with Sean Payton and a good quarterback like Russell Wilson just tank. And then literally the next year, you have a good marriage. With Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell, it's like an epiphany, or angels came down from the sky to bless the Vikings. I don't know what happened, but I don't know. Can we just watch them tie? Like, I don't know. Is that allowed? Or is the NFL going to come in and be like, no, you can't because someone has to win?
Well, it would probably go to the Lions because the Lions won the first matchup. So
true.
Yeah, I think that's how the scales would be. Yeah, I think that's how the scales would be tipped. I'm excited for this. Hats off to you, script writers. We can go on and on about this. I don't want to beat a dead horse. Watch this game this Sunday. If you are an NFL fan, watch the Vikings versus the Lions. It's the matchup. And it's like the finale, right? It's like the season finale. Literally, it's the season finale before the playoffs start. And what better matchup to see two seriously heavyweight opponents go at it for the number one seed in the NFC, to have the road to the Super Bowl go through them. And that's a scary thing to think. If I'm any team in the NFC, I don't want to go on the road to the Detroit Lions, and I don't want to go on the road to Minnesota. Both of those stadiums are loud. Both of those fan bases show up, and both of those fan bases are hungry for a Super Bowl. And both of those coaches and those teams are firing on all cylinders. Those two teams have got to be the scariest teams in the NFC right now. Hands down, period. This is the matchup to watch. You don't want to miss it. If you miss it, sucks to be you. That's all I have to say. But
at least it's in a dome and not Snowmageddon.
And that's the other thing. That's why I think that's another factor that I like so much, because now there's no excuses. This is just going to be pure football. Two heavyweights just battling it out with no extra impact on their play. This is going to be a game to watch, and it's going to be in Detroit, which is, I can only imagine how deafening that is going to be. So I think it was actually, I can't remember when. It was way back in the day. I want to say probably sometime 90s. And I think it was the Detroit Lions. But they got so loud that they caused like back-to-back delay of games for the opposing team, and the refs had to come on and be like, "Hey, you guys have to like quiet down." They penalized the Lions because there was so much interference because of the stadium noise. That's an actual thing that happened, and I'm pretty sure it was in Detroit. I would not be surprised if that happens again this week, and I'm okay with that. So, but playoffs are going to be electric. We hope that your team makes it in. But Scooter, that brings us to that time of the episode, and that is the Beardzone Game Day Picks of the Week. That is right. Rapid fire. We are back with it. I honestly am going to be very okay. I don't know if we're going to have our records anymore down below, because there's just been so many weeks that have just been like kind of We just haven't done it, right? Because either one of us have missed or, we just haven't done an episode. Still to be determined. But if you've been playing along with us, let us know down there in the comments on what your record is. And don't be cheating. Don't be doing the Kansas City Chiefs like that. All right. Let a cheater stay a cheater. All right. Let them be those guys. But Scooter, you know the drill. Rapid fire. We got Saturday games as well. And let's start it off. We have the Baltimore Ravens, Browns. Who do you got?
Who's playing quarterback again? All right, yeah. I got you on Baltimore, dude. There's no chance for Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens as well, which also means that they get the NFC North crown, and that's, seeding. I think they'll be like the number 3 seed then.
Yeah.
So, Cincinnati Bengals, Pittsburgh Steelers, must-win game for the Bengals. Who do you got? It's in Pittsburgh.
Give me some Joe Burrow. I need some Joe Ice.
I like Joe Burrow in this one as well. Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta, if they lose, they are completely out. If they win, they still hold the hopes of the New Orleans Saints beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to get that 4th seed in the NFC. Who do you got?
Carolina, please.
I know that I'm rooting for Carolina as well, but I'm going to have to just go with what I feel. From what I saw last week, the Atlanta Falcons with Michael Penix, he looked like he's a good quarterback, and he's going to be a good quarterback, so that sucks for us here in the NFC South. But lucky for us, we have Baker Mayfield, who is also a good quarterback. But I do think that the Atlanta Falcons are going to get away with the win there in Atlanta. We have the Commanders versus the Dallas Cowboys. Who do you got?
CeeDee Lamb's not playing, so the Commanders.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
is he
he's
injured?
out. He's out for the rest. Yeah, he's bummed shoulder. He should have not played against the Bucks, and I'm still angry about that.
Well, I mean, he did, and he played pretty well.
Torched us.
Yeah, exactly. I got the Commanders as well for this one. I like what Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are doing. They're going to be a team to watch for in the NFC as well. Should be fun times. We have the Packers and the Bears.
The Packers have kind of shown that they can play, but they're also playing the Bears, so go Pack.
I got go Pack go as well with this one. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the dumpster fire of an organization now, the Indianapolis Colts. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw anything with what Pat McAfee said, but it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I think he's 100% right. I don't know what this team is doing. I don't think they know what they're doing. I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars this game.
I wanted to pick the Jags as well, but part of me was like Colts. I don't really care who wins this game, to be honest, since it's a complete joke. The Jags are kind of going for their draft picks. That's why I wanted the Colts to win.
Okay. Fair. Now, if you have the Buffalo Bills versus the New England Patriots, Buffalo has already secured their number 2 seed in the AFC. They are good to go for the playoffs. So are they resting their starters? I don't know. But they are playing the New England Patriots, who are also playing for a draft pick as well. So who you got?
I mean, it's the Bills' second bye week in 3 weeks. So, yeah, go Bills.
Yeah, I got the Bills as well in this one. I even think that the secondary string can come out and they would still beat the Patriots here. We have the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants. Who do you got?
The Giants showed some life last week with Drew Lock and kind of messed up their draft stock.
Yeah.
That was awesome. But I like the Philadelphia Eagles in this one, man.
I like the Philadelphia Eagles, but I don't like that Saquon is not going for the record. I wish that he would go for it.
Just go for it.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New Orleans Saints.
Bucks! No question.
Let's go Bucks. Let's go Bucks. That's what I'm going to say. Not going to dive too much into this game. I like the Bucks. 10-7. Here we go. Let's go fourth. What is this? The 4th straight year that we'll be NFC South champs and 5th straight playoff spot.
Yeah, so I think so.
I like it. Texans, Titans. Who do you have?
Did the Texans fall off? I don't. I like the Texans, but I'm very curious if they're going to actually win.
I like the Texans as well. I mean, Tennessee has shown that they can be pesky if they want to be, but I'm going to go with the Texans as well. San Francisco 49ers, Carolina Cardinals. Who do you have?
I just want to say that the Call of Duty and Kyler Murray thing needs to be studied a little bit more. Go 49ers, because you almost beat the Lions.
Yeah. Yeah, the Lions looked a little bit sloppy against the 49ers, which was a little bit worrisome. So, but I have the 49ers as well in this matchup. I just don't believe. I think I've always faded the Cardinals this year, and I think I'm just going to continue with that trend to end the season off. Broncos, Chiefs. Broncos are fighting for that playoff spot. Who do you have?
I think Kansas City is benching their starters. I think it was confirmed Carson Wentz is playing, and he hasn't played in like a year or two. Legitimately. I like
Yeah,
the Broncos going for their playoff run.
I like the Broncos here as well. Yeah, I think Chiefs are going to be, just benching their starters. So give me the Broncos on this. Chargers, Raiders.
Are we for real? The
It's
Raiders
a
can't
game.
play offense. Jim Harbaugh's getting the win here.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers as well. Los Angeles Rams. Might I say, I was the one who stated that they were looking like the team that was going to take the NFC West, and by dadgummit, they did it, man. So shout out to me, but I'm going to go with the Rams on this one. Who do you have? Rams, Seahawks.
I have the Rams as well, and I looked it up. Payo Time, the Canadian dude who did
Uh
our
huh.
analysis of our video. Thank you for that, and we took your notes for sure. But we would love to have a conversation with you as far as us being right on your 10-win season. But again, it's just good banter. I got the Rams, dude. They're looking very good right now. Go
They are
Puka.
look they are looking really good right now as well. If they win this week, though, they go 11-6.
Yeah, but we said 10 or 11 wins, and he was very hell bent on 12 or 13. I just
Very
want to have
true.
that banter, dude. It would be
Very
great.
true. I'm down for it. So
Payo
yeah,
time, hit us up.
Payo time, definitely, man. We'll shout you out here. So we always like, but hey, mark my word, you can go back in our archives. I was the one who stated that the Rams were going to win, and this was back when they only had like a 22% chance of winning that game, of winning the division. And I saw the writing on the wall. Miami Dolphins, Jets. They're trying to hold the keys to to their destiny. They have to win. Who do you have?
To the Jets can't play a complete game, and
No.
I think this is all Dolphins.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins as well. I've faded the Jets. I've learned my lesson. I will never predict what
15
I
and
predicted.
2. I just want to say it. Dave was 15 and 2 with the Jets on our predictions. Oh my gosh.
Listen,
It's
why wouldn't it? Why would all right. I'll take that. I will take that loss. That is my biggest loss of the season by
for
far.
sure.
Sunday night, NBC, Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings for the number 1 seed. The road to the Super Bowl goes through who?
My gut tells me Lions, but I'm going with the Vikings.
You know
I
what's
just,
funny? So we make our picks prior to getting on here. We don't discuss it with each other. I had the Vikings as well. The road to New Orleans. The road to New Orleans is through Minnesota. There's just something that's telling me the Vikings are gonna pull the upset in Detroit. Not saying that the Lions have, you know, a fighting chance. I don't want to play the Lions. I don't want to
I
play
don't
the
want to play
Vikings either.
either of these teams.
Yeah, I don't want to play
The
either of
Bucks are
these
probably
teams,
going to
but
have to.
but it looks like that we're going to have one of these the loser of this game next week in the wild card if the Bucks do end up winning the NFC South. But give me Minnesota, man. I like Minnesota. There's just something that's telling me Minnesota with
That's
this one. I
shocking, man. I
don't know
thought you were
what
going
it
to go with the
is.
Lions.
I thought that you were going to go with the Lions. I thought that I was going to be the shocker. So it's a true surprise that we both picked the Minnesota Vikings. I would be very curious to see what Carlos would also say about this. He'll be back with us next week. So, but you let us know road to the Super Bowl in the NFC, who does it go through? Does it go through Detroit or does it go to Minnesota? Let us know down there in the comments. Shout out your team. Shout out your prediction. We are right on the cusp of the playoffs, and the NFL season is then truly starting, my friends. The teams that have fallen off the cliff or off the mountain to the top to hoist that Lombardi are laying down there, and they are about to book their flights, or they've already booked their flights to Cancun this off season. But we will be here this entire off season, but we have the playoffs to go through, so it's going to be a fun time. But follow us on all of our social medias. We're on X, we're on Instagram, we are on Facebook as well. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because that is really truly the best way to help us and helps us get out in that algorithm. So we definitely appreciate everyone that does that. Share with us, with all your family, friends, coworkers, anything, any football fans that you know, because that does help us as well. But we will be back next Friday. And so until next Friday.
Beardzone out. Kevin O'Connell should get Coach of the Year, hands down. I know Andy Reid is crushing it with the Kansas City and the refs. I got you. But Kevin O'Connell is absolutely killing it with the Vikings and somehow rebuilding with a quarterback that's been thrown around from the Jets to the 49ers to Carolina. And if you're the Panthers right now watching Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold flourishing, you need a new ownership.